Hello and Allahu Akbar. Today is 18th of the April, time is 11:30. I've taken ill a bit, not exactly feeling like myself. I wanted to continue the discussion we had last night, but I have to cut it short, and especially there's 4 other lines to explain. So you have to listen to the previous video in order to be able to see where we're going. Last night I was explaining that God has given man the most subtle gift of all, almost a part of himself. He's given the willpower to man. And that is why in the Holy Book says God has made man like himself. Because he has willpower and has given man willpower. So has given intelligence to him. And through that feeling that is a relationship that is established with this intelligent being called human being, he's so concerned about that. Baha'u'llah says that he wants to keep that so pure that does not get contaminated or get weathered. He doesn't want anything to come around that feeling, to be built on it, debris, coercives. He doesn't want to have any essentiality like any other things. Wants to be separate from all of that. So tonight we can see, just 1 second. In continuing, that Baha'u'llah shows concern. He's concerned about this matter. He calls it, you can see in this line, calls it a seedling. This is the God. In means this, nahalat. Nahal means seedling. Qars kon is a verb. Qars means planted. Dar in arz del. Arz means land, soil. Del, heart. In the soil of heart. It says this seedling, plant this, embedded in this land, the soil of heart. He does not want this to get contaminated. He says past, then muqaddas, sanctify it. Muqaddas darash. Darash means it. It refers to the seedling. Muqaddas dar means sanctified. Then sanctify it from ishraq wa zil. Ishraq in its word means illuminations. Zil means shadow. But the reference to the nahal, which is seedling, it tells us this ishraq wa zil simply means sanctified from the sunshine and the shades. Is alluding here that so many is pure in heart that they don't have a particular idea what the truth is and what the right is. And they're getting illuminated by so many thousands of ideologies, idea givers. Sometimes they fall in the shadow of those. Sometimes also they get shut down. Like the story I said last night. Even Moses was shutting down that shepherd because the shepherd was praying to God not in the way that it was supposed to. So we see God has a concern about that pure, feeling of a relationship, of an awareness of God, as if He remember, some of us, not all of us. Then he continues, he says about the same thing. He says, Ham to hefs, as mukhtalif badash nama. Furthermore, protected from different winds. Mukhtalif means different. Bad means wind. This she badash is a pronoun that refers to that sibling again. Nama means do, lakum, different way of saying it. So he says, further thou protected from different wind, the blowing of the wind, that they take things one way or others. Ham ze vahme mushrika zawdash nama. This is a big one. Further also, wahm, illusions, fancy imaginations. Mushrek. Mushrek comes from the word which means really duality. But it is used in Islam and in the Baha'i. It always means infidel. The person is taking God alongside of other things. Those who believe there are two forces in the universe, two equal forces, God and Satan. That is a person like that who think that Satan can stand God. It would be mushrek. Mushrek means the one who's looking partnership with God. So it says, further from the wahm, illusions of mushrek, infidels, azadash nama, emancipate him. How often that feeling that it has, we have, it can simply sway by the wind of the ideologies, by the illusions of these fancy imaginations. And Baha'u'llah says this sort of swinging, this feeling of the fate, he doesn't want that to happen. Let's pray that it doesn't happen. Then he gives us a clue finally. What is he talking about? The clue comes in these two lines. He says, Asle'u sabit nama dar arz jan. Asl means principles, but here asl in Arabic means root. Let's talk about that seedling. Asle'u, its root. Sabit, confirm. Do, confirm. Its root in the arz, the land of soul, in the earth of the soil, in the earth of soul, in the soil of the soul. He's talking about that seedling. He says this seedling, it has an asl. Make that asl to go inside the John. So this seedling eats his fate. The fate that he brings for us. We call it as Baha'i fate. Then we say there's a changeable or unchangeable part. But there was a time there was no religion. But fate of God was still existing in the heart of the people. Maybe they didn't know how to talk. 1,000,000 years from now. 1,000,000 years ago. That, he says, keep the root in him. So, that root. Then he says, فرع او را بگذران از آسمان. فرع, as opposed to asl, means the branches, the part of the tree that you can see. Okay, the branches of it, bugzaran, take away, he says. the upper part of this tree? What's not the root? The trunk, the branches, the leaves, everything. Takes it to the heaven. This asl and far tells us that he's referring to a verse in Quran where God says that it's asl. Talking about a tree in Quran. And he says that shajaratan tayyibah, a pure tree, which is that Sidratul Muntaha, that lotus tree. It says its asl, which is its root, confirm. It's there. Its branches, everything else is in the sky. That's the changeable part. This tells us that Baha'u'llah is talking about his relationship to mankind, which is the cause of God. At one time, there was no religion, but that feeling was there, that relationship was there, both between the people and God. So God has started to create a mechanism, a system, not only to protect that feeling, watch it, not to go into the wind, not to get into the illusion, not to get eliminated or shut down by others, by wrong things. Then he starts his revelations. This feeling of faith in us is personal. God brought his cause, a revelation, to make it general. You see? Because this private feeling that we have about God and the way how we explain it, we even might die for it. But we might have a friend on the other side who's also ready to die for God. But it seems that we cannot communicate. You know, he wants to die for Christ. This guy is dying for Muhammad. Another guy is dying for Buddha. They don't know. Rumi again has a story. He says, I think it goes on that there were 4 beggars. One day they received a big money. One of them was Greek. He said, let's go buy a stafil. Stafil. Arab said, no, best things in the world is anap. Anap is the best. The Turkish beggar said, no, uzum. Uzum is, you don't know guys what uzum is. We have to buy uzum. Haven't taken uzum such a long time. Persian guy says, shh, you're all wrong. Angur. Angur is the best. The wise man comes and says, okay, since you don't get along, give me the money. I'm going to buy something that everyone likes it. He goes and buys grape. Persian says, that's what I said, angur. Turkish man said, uzum, that's what I said. Greek said, that's what I meant by estafil. And Arab said, that's anab. They were talking the same thing, but they couldn't get along. The language was different. There's one big issue among the people. It's not the vocabulary of the word that we talk. 2 people are sitting in front of each other, they're talking English, and after 2 minutes they start to fight. They're Persians or Arabs. So what's the problem? Don't they understand the words when it comes? Maybe. But there's also a language, another word of meaning. That has a different frequencies. You know, a radio sends a message. If the frequencies are not matching, you won't get the message. So we have a language of understanding sometimes that's different from the other people. Because in our dictionary, we define love as to be this. The other guy says, no, love is that. And love is not tangible, problem happens. Religion, because it's not tangible, and it creates a ground of fight, God created revelations. For what? To protect that feeling. So people keep being related to God. Okay? And also a media so they can get along better. A language he created. Revelation is a common language so people can talk to each other. Somebody said, why did God, Baha'u'llah, change salam to Allahu Akbar? What's the reason for that? So people say salam, Muslims, and he comes and says Allahu Akbar. According to him, he says, Baha'u'llah simply, God forgive him and me. He said Baha'u'llah was arrogant. He wanted to prove that I exist, therefore I'm going to change the word salam to Allahu Akbar because there's no reason for it. I said, see, this is where you don't understand the cause of God. With the word salam and Allahu Akbar, a lot of culture is attached. The guy who says salam, he also doesn't believe in the equality of man and women. The guy who says salam, he also thinks other people of other religions are infidel. So if Baha'u'llah says salam, it might bring all of those things with it. You've heard of the Pavlov, the story of a dog. When the dog was hungry, this Pavlov, proved, he gave the dog food and made the clock was ringing. And one day he doesn't give him food, just a ring, and the clock comes, the dog feels hungry because the two will get connected. So the same reason, because of the cultural connection, misguidance to the word salam, Baha'u'llah changed it to Allahu Akbar. Because he wants to change all those ties to this. He doesn't want you to remember that with this you have to say other things. So it's creating a common understanding. If all the people in a year, let's say Nowruz, celebrate and one day they mourn and one day they're holiday, then a lot of more understanding is created between people. For example, Christians a lot in the world, generally speaking, have more media to get along than if there are Christians and Muslims. So is Muslims, so is Buddhists. So this creating a common understanding, a social language, a media, a frequency, it helps mankind to get together. This is why God revealed revelations. Okay? And this revelation, Abdul Baha says, it has a changeable part and it has an unchangeable part. The changeable part are these prayers and fastings and all of that. The changeable part, the unchangeable part is, goodness. I always like bravery, to be brave, to be nice, to be good, to be humble, to have understanding, to serve, humility, all those qualities. But how do we get those qualities? The guy goes on his own, he spends a lot of money, and he thinks he's doing good. If they tell him what's happening with the money that you're giving, many people are getting killed by your money. I have a story where the guy wants money, finally God give him money, he goes and pay money to a long-time friend, the guy buys a car and he dies. Then God tells him that, you see, I gave you money, not generosity, I gave you money. But I have not made you a judge to pay to this guy and not to pay to that guy. Because of what you have done, you have harmed people. So you could give and harm. So giving is not very simple things. It has to have a formula how to give. This is why the laws and the commandment are also created. The changeable part of the religion. This way to pray, this way to take fast, this way to give. If people would know, believe me, Baha'u'llah would not reveal it. He says in one tablet, if people could handle the drinking, we would have said it's halal. It's okay. But we see that people are not able to handle this. It causes a lot of problem. Now, after a few percentage of the people can, God cannot discriminate against the rest of the people with that one. He says, what? Everybody should not. Then he puts a clause, Baha'u'llah, this divine intelligent being. He says, if a doctor says you could do it, you could go ahead and do it. you can use morphine, but not if a doctor says you have to take fast. But if a doctor says no, no. So it's so humble, isn't it? Generally speaking, he says this is the rule. But specifically, if there's a person that has to have certain things, he says he's preferred over me for one in particular individual, as long as it's a doctor. So, to save that precious things that God has given us as a human being, a personal phone call that you could ring and God says, hello, that feeling, that's faith. You see, he wants to protect that. That's why the revelation comes. In order to protect the revelation, the changeable part, the unchangeable part, then God creates Baha'i faith today. Only because he wants to create all the rules in the Baha'i faith, the entire revelation of the Baha'u'llah, is to protect the unchangeable part, which is the Jawhar of the faith, which is the essence of the faith. All of this is to make you to keep being good, to continue to be generous, to continue to be brave, to continue to be humble. All of the rules are serving that purpose. Okay? And all of that is nothing but for you to get to that feeling and relationship. So the entire Baha'i faith and entire faith, generally speaking, are nothing but a means. They're not the goal. It's a means. Means is so your feeling gets connected more and more to God. So you can download from Him generosity, greatness, the spirituality. All of it is that, to create that line going. And he tells us, here he says, اصل او ثابت نما در عرض جان. Confirm, do confirm its root in the land of soul. Take away, بگذران, take away its branches to heaven. Take it away. That is not to stay. Why is that? He's asking that I want the Muslims to have that relationship with God. Christians have that relationship with God. Any religions you have. But understand, stick to the unchangeable part of you believe in God and everything else. But this part of the tree, the cedre, is going to change. Why? Then he asks God, No bahari to zeno avar ayan. Bahar means spring, no, a new bahar, to you. Ze from, no, beginning, bring, evident. So, he says, God, bring a new spring again. Tawz hashrat barjahand in mordegan. Till from your power, that life-giving power, barjahan, speed out, come out of the grave, all these dead people. Baha'i faith is going to do that. So far I guess we understood that God says the beginning of the relationship, which makes you to go to the presence of God, is the gift of God, which is the willpower, that intelligence, that subtle, most magnificent gift of God to the intelligent being. And he says that I gave you, which is your faith, I am bringing my cause as a general faith to save your personal faith. And that has two parts, of a changeable and the unchangeable part. It says keep that unchangeable part, that we've grown you to understand this. your personal feeling into these corporations of a general fate, which is all the fates of God. And then he says that as the time goes by, part of it has to change. And says God, take that far means the offshoot, the branches and the boughs, whatever comes out of this cedre, of this tree, and bring a new spring. What happens in the spring? Everything comes back alive. So, people come back alive. It's very amazing. This topic and this part of poetry that I read for you, as I said before, it's an open topic. I try to transliterate so you can say it right. Also translate the word based on the dictionaries of Shobi Effendi that has given to us. So you be the judge yourself and have your own input. Anytime you think that I am the master of everything, remember of the people. I'm talking to the future people now. When I die and join the League of the Heroes, because you like your hero to be dead, and then you say, oh, so bad, they didn't understand Abbas. At that time, my brother, you're wrong. Because if you think you understood and the people of this time, they didn't understand, if that's the equations, then you have to understand who is the Abbas of the time. Because Shobi Effendi clearly says, in the page 300, under the guardianship, in the light of guidance, it says it's not just that there's a continuation of the revelations of God, which is after Baha'u'llah another prophet comes. That's not the only principle. This principle has an addenda, has something attached to it. It's an amendment. As well, Shobi Effendi says, when Baha'u'llah ascends to his original realm, disconnects himself, from this TV, from Baha'u'llah, from the body that was here, he will send continuously. There won't be 1 minute that this planet is without guardian. I'm a specific guardian, which is called elder. Shobi Effendi is an infallible guardian, which that means he cannot make mistakes. I can make mistakes. I could go down to hell, as one of the letters of the living was, as one of the imams of Islam was, as one of the disciples of Jesus Christ was. But even after the elders have gone, there is such a thing as general guardianship, Shobi Effendi says. That always happens. It's always there. It is impossible that in the earth there aren't people that they make connection to God. So at that time, my friends, go find who is in the earth then. Open an eye and find him. But thinking I am, anything special, anything particular, then you are trying to feed my ego. I won't buy into it. One guy was telling to me, Abbas, you're so great. I cannot do what you do. You're magnificent, this and that. I told him, those are not the excuse for your laziness. I'm great. Then what? Therefore, you have to admire me as a fan and letting me to go and die in the middle of this ring? Come on in. If you believe in me, I'll tell you that you are just like me. Come on in. Let's go together, okay? I need help. So, the other excuse. And if others, they come back and they talk, trying to talk, and bring my name up and my writings and all that, watch out. They're opportunists, that they're waiting the geniuses to die. They go bring him up because they want to make money out of him. fame out of it. They have nothing of their own. They create the hero, they invest on it. When it's totally took him to the point that he is, you know, the greatest man in the earth, then they go kill him. Why? Because they say his death is more profitable. Let's kill him now. We can make more money. Because we can show humbleness by obeying him. Sure, everybody says we are obedient to Muhammad. Muhammad is dead. But you think you could say to him, I'm obedient to you when he was around? Because he would give you a command and you would fail. Obedient, that I'm obedient to Prophet and to this and that after their death is easy. How come you were not accepting it when he was around? As Baha'u'llah says, if you say we're not the same people, Baha'u'llah says, too bad, because I see your word and your actions are exactly the same thing. He has a tablet. It says, tell to the divines, if I am not what you think I should be, what was wrong with Bob that you killed him? If Bob is wrong, what was wrong with Muhammad that you wanted to assassinate? Muhammad was wrong. What was wrong, he says, with Jesus that you crucified him? So if you say you're not those people, Baha'u'llah says, I say your action and words are the same. So I'm not trying to bring these things to establish myself as somebody. Watch out with what you're saying if you see me. I don't buy into that and I get insulted. Say what you learned, even critically. Come here and add to it. Improve it. Make it better. Make it bigger. Don't stand stagnated in front of it, admiring it. Join the party. Make it bigger. I've started something. Whoever likes it, start your own YouTube videos. Bring it over. Explain what I've said and add anything extra that you have. You know, we're all Baha'i teachers, all of us. There's no excuse for nobody, because teaching is an obligation. All right. Yeah. There is no relationship in the entire world that is greater than friendship. Any other relationship is an araz, johar. The essential relationship is friendship. Everything else is nothing. That's the Imam al-Sadiq, the sixth Imam in Islam. Brothers are better or friends. He says the brothers better be friend too. Okay, so I hope it was useful. I'm just a man and that's my understanding. And I felt that's my duty to share my ideas. Because there could be something nice and right in it, something in it that could give a clue to one of you, I don't know, lift you up, get you to do something. That would be my greatest reward. That actually goes money right in my account on the other side. But admiring me and calling me this or that, it's really out of your league, trust me. You're not in the position to admire me or comment on who I am. Trust me on that, okay? But you can join me. Let's do the right things, okay? For sake of humanity, for sake of the Baha'i faith, for sake of Baha'u'llah, for the sake of all the people of the world. Baha'i faith, the common understanding, the language of God, the general faith for all to unite all of our private faiths in our heart. See you.